Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Experiences Living Abroad. I'm here with the beautiful Phelena Jean. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on your platform.
Absolutely. So tell our viewers, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from South Central Los Angeles.
Yes. And where are you now?
And I've been an expat for a decade. This is my fifth stop. I'm in South Africa currently.
Okay, so talk about your transition of being an expat for a decade. That's a huge a huge accomplishment. So what was the first transition? You were working in America, and how'd you end up on your first country?
So around 2010-ish, I was going through a divorce and finishing grad school and not entirely satisfied with my job.
Mhm.
And so, I have this thing, I'm not going to be disrespected and underpaid at the same damn time. So I started planning. And, initially I hadn't been on a trip in like probably a couple years at that point. And at the urging of a girlfriend, like I just bought a ticket and I bought a ticket to Salvador Bahia, Brazil. And initially it was going to be like a 2-week solo vacation. But then probably about 4 to 6 weeks leading up to the trip, I was like, okay, you're not really like, I was living in Philly at the time. I really didn't like Philly anymore. I didn't like the job. I was newly single. I was just like, why don't you just move there? And that's what I did. And that's the best life decision I have made in my life. I was young, I was about 27, 28. It was the best life decision I made.
So wait, okay. Had you been there before, or you were just like, I'm gonna go visit? Did you decide you were gonna move there after you went there, or you knew you were going on your first vacation that you were gonna move there?
No, I'd never been there. I didn't know anybody. I will say, I will say that subliminal seduction is something because prior to me even deciding I was going to move to Brazil, I had been watching Dr. Henry Louis Gates' PBS special about Black and Latin America. And my dad was always very fascinated about Brazil and Bahia in particular. My maternal side is from New Orleans. That's a very New Orleans kind of feel. And so I remember like putting Pellerino on my screensaver. And about 9 months later, I was in that exact same same spot. And it didn't dawn on me until like much later. I was like, dang, that's real, that's real bizarre. But I did have a professor in college that conducted study abroad programs to Salvador Bahia. And I got accepted to do the program, but I was happy in love and married and stuff. I was like, I'm not leaving my man for a semester, honey. So I didn't even go. But he kind of linked me with a few people that he knew on the ground, and that actually one person that he knew on the ground. And that to some degree helped facilitate my trip. But basically, no, I didn't know nobody. I didn't speak the language. I just knew it was Black. I would blend in and I was ready.
Wow. So that first experience, how long were you there?
Almost a year.
Okay.
So I stayed between Salvador Bahia mostly, and I also lived in Rio de Janeiro for half that time.
And so what did you have to do in regards to the visas and that type of thing?
Well, Brazil is pretty easy then it was. I don't know how it is now. It was around like 2011-ish. But they graciously allowed me to renew my visa, 6-month visa, and they allowed me to renew it. So it wasn't an issue.
And what was your next country journey? How'd you end up there?
Oh gosh. The next one after Brazil, I kind of did like around the world a little bit. And I ran out of money. I ran out of alimony. I ran out of savings. I ran out of everything, Chad. I was on one of them, when Obama had them almost 99 weeks of unemployment. I was getting all the coins at the time. And suddenly it all ran out. And I was like, I thought that I would be able to find a job at home. So I did go home for a couple months, but I could not. And I had a home girl that lived in Korea. And she urged me to come. And Korea was not on my radar. was not checking for Korea, honey. Like, not even a little bit. But like, I was at my lowest point, damn near, professionally and personally. So I went. I was like, it's not a war-torn country. The remuneration was definitely less than what I was accustomed to with the salary. But they pay for your housing and your transportation in terms of coming and going. So I did that for 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that for 10 months.
And then where'd you transition?
2012.
Okay.
And then I came up, got back to the kind of lifestyle and remuneration that I was used to. And I moved to Qatar. And I was there for about 4.5 years.
And what were you doing in Qatar?
I was a teacher. I was a drama teacher.
Really?
Yeah, I was a drama teacher. It was a very interesting experience. I got paid handsomely to play games and put on productions with children.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. And, while I was there, I just developed a side hustle. I had a hair extensions company. You can't tell no more. I'm an Africa child living my best life. But I used to be such a wig girl. And there was such a dearth of options. As being in Portugal, there's such a dearth of options for places for Black women to get our hair done and find hair supplies. And so I began serving the military bases while I was in Qatar and secured some contracts in Germany and Italy and Qatar, and started making more money doing that. And so I made a career pivot to full-time entrepreneur as a result.
That's awesome. So can we talk back to how you left Korea to go to Qatar? How did you find out about the job opportunity and how did you make that transition?
There is an organization, the name is Search Associates. Oh, yeah. Search Associates is it's a recruiting agency that recruits qualified teachers. So you have to have a teaching license. Have pre-existing educational experience, but they recruit for top tier schools all over the world. And there was this very nice guy that reached out to me on the profile, and he basically did a Skype interview for the job. I didn't have no idea what I was getting myself into. I had maybe heard of Qatar in passing, but it wasn't on my radar. So another just being open to the universe. It was a great opportunity and great decision.
So when you transitioned there, you were a teacher there, and then when you started to build your business, and you said you got contracts with the military in various other countries, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so I'm no expert on this. I went through trial and error, but I knew that the military bases were a niche market. I don't have any military affiliation personally, but one thing I learned in Korea, when you make friends with people on the military base, that's where you have the most access to creature comforts and ethnic hair care products and services. And so I always kept that in the back of my mind. And so, when I got to Qatar, actually my primary clientele in Qatar were wealthy Arab women that I had never met. Really. They would send their drivers to come and buy my wigs. I had never met them in my life. But the military, I had a girlfriend who had a salon on a military base, and she basically sold it to me. So for a very, nice amount. So I did that for a while. And one of the hardest things though is getting products on shelves in the BX. I had kiosks. So I wasn't competing with big brands. Right. I had kiosks, which, it was nice for a while, but that's very difficult to scale and manage on, in 3 different countries. But a lot of learning lessons. I made some money, lost some money, learned tons of lessons.
And so how did you transition from that, from leaving Qatar to what was your next country?
Now I'm in South Africa.
Okay, right.
So in 2017, there was a geopolitical crisis in Qatar. I woke up on June 5th, 2017, and it was about 2.5 dozen countries was like, we don't F with you. And I was like, what is going on? What's going to happen? And so I have an irrational fear of being homeless. And South Africa, I'd always travel back and forth to South Africa, probably like once a year. A good girlfriend of here, mine lived here, and I came to visit her in 2014. And there was a particular area they were developing and it was being gentrified. And I earmarked it because the property prices were not very expensive. So when that happened, I basically just cashed out on a place. And like, I'm not going to be homeless. I didn't know if they were going to break out into war. But, you know, from a bad breakup last year, I'm glad I had this place. As a bitch would be homeless. So I came back to South Africa after that breakup. And I wasn't planning to live here. It was a rental property. But yeah, I've been here ever since and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So you listen, you are definitely experienced in this expat life. Have you had any desires to move back to the States?
No.
You said like immediately, not at all.
No. You know, I'm not going to hold you. Like, I've tried it for a couple months at a time at different points. And my spirit just disagrees with that place. Viscerally. It's very difficult to readjust living there. I always, joke that I'm passing, and you can tell I don't pass no paperback test at all. But I'm passing, this blue passport means something, and it, it grants you exclusive, well, I don't know about how much now.
I was like, not anymore.
Not the way this pandemic set up, don't nobody want us to their country, child, but, heretofore, your blue passport grants you entry into this global community, and I'm treated as an American and a Westerner first.
Right.
Whereas, when I come back home, it's like, well, shit, I'm just, especially adjusting from living in a place like Qatar for so very long. I was very much used to a certain standard of treatment. And, I don't get that at home. So, yeah.
So being in South Africa, what do you have to do in regards to visa to stay there?
Girl, this has been, well, in some ways the pandemic has been a blessing. I'm a whole property owner here, and I was on a tourist visa.
Okay.
And so I was doing visa runs. I probably did it as backwards though. That's the onus is on me for that. I just knew I had property, and I wasn't intending on living here, but you could get a retirement visa here. There's, what are those, skilled labor visas? If you have a particular skill set that is in high demand. What other visas are there?
So the tourist visa, how long does it last? With the US
it's 3 months. I was on that visa run shit every 3 months.
Okay.
But I came back in October.
So how do you feel like moving abroad has changed your perspective on life?
Wow, that's a good question. How has it changed my perspective on life? I mean, immensely for sure, but I'm trying to, I find that the world is kind. And, you watch so much news every day, and you could be inundated with, all of this negativity. I have found that the world has, in all of my travels, I've lived on 4 continents, I've traveled over 40 countries by myself, and I've never been in like imminent danger, knock on wood. So I think that's what travel has taught me. The world is actually a kind place.
I remember meeting a gentleman who came to DC. This is before I had started traveling. He was from Italy, and he told me he was doing solo travels for the year or whatever. And I had never thought about solo travel at the moment. I mean, I would do South America, Caribbean, that type of thing, but I never like went further than that. And he was telling me all his travels, and I go, I said, weren't you scared to travel by yourself? And I remember him saying slowly, he goes, I was terrified. And he says, but people are nice. And I remember when he said that, I was like, no, they're not. You know what I mean? And then when I started traveling, I was like, no, people actually, I mean, you're going to find some nice everywhere, you know, but
yeah, right.
for the most part, people are actually really, really nice. So what advice would you give for those individuals who are considering moving abroad?
Do it. I mean, do it. Do your research first, you know. I don't know. I think geo arbitrage is something that you should really consider if you are doing this, especially in a non-traditional way. You're not being recruited for work. Just make sure you're going somewhere where the dollar or whatever currency you earn, make sure you're earning a higher yielding currency than, you know, where you're living. I mean, I live in South Africa. I primarily make dollars. But I don't know what the exchange rate is now, probably like 1 to 16 or 1 to 17 or something like that. So, you know, what you would pay for, you know, have a moderately decent lifestyle at home, you're paying a fraction of the cost if you're selecting your countries wisely. When I first started doing this, there were not any like Facebook groups and communities where you could like reach out to people who are on the ground. But I feel like these days you could type in brothers and sisters, any country in the world, and find a group. So yeah, I mean, I think community is important. Try to build a bit of a community before you go. Line your ducks up, especially if you're not no spring chicken. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s. I do not have seen just a few people that have been like, grow, great coochie hair, grow, and just jump out there, and it could potentially be a catastrophe. Like, make sure financially that your ducks are lined up. But other than that, go for it. Go for it. It's changed my life. It's been the best decision I've ever made.
Awesome. I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Experiences Living Abroad. We know you can be anywhere you decide to be with us, and we appreciate it. Till next time.